Canada and the free worlds around the whole world can continue to support our democratic movement in Hong Kong and stand with Hong Kong.
Do you support the all five demands of?
Absolutely, absolutely. No one less. Yeah, not one less, okay? So I support all these 5 demands and not one less.
We don't have any information that there's going to be any problems, and hopefully there won't be any problems.
We're here in Hong Kong today on Election Day. This is the day that Hong Kongers are coming to the polls to vote for their district councillors. It's pretty much the lowest level of government here in this city, but it's being taken by many as a referendum on the Free Hong Kong movement that we've seen grow over the past 36 weeks here in Hong Kong. The polling lines have gone around the block a few times, actually. It's the longest polling lines I've ever seen. We've actually just interviewed a few of the candidates here, both pro-democracy and pro-Beijing, and as we were doing so, some police in full riot gear showed up. They had shields and the whole riot gear get up. Right now, there's been no whispers of any sort of protests or demonstrations to be had. The protesters, we have it on good authority, they actually want to remain very cautious just yesterday and today because they don't want to get arrested. They could be detained to the point where they're not allowed to vote because poll stations could close and they would lose out on their opportunity. The protesters are very eager to vote. Like I said, the turnout here already, the polls have been open for just 3 hours and more than 3 times the usual amount of voters have showed up. It's about 160,000 people have already voted by now, the point of filming 3 hours into the polling day. We're going to throw to my interview here with Andrew Hsu. He was the pro-democracy candidate who actually lost an ear. A pro-Beijing hooligan actually came and bit it off while he was demonstrating with other Hong Kongers. Here's what he had to say.
In the early November, I was attacked by an attacker when I tried to protect the citizens, avoid the attacker's attack. If we have time machine and back to at that moment, I will still come out to protect my Hong Kong citizens because actually it's a duty call as a elected representative in the constituency.
Do you support the 5 demands?
Yeah, of course. As a Democrat, we understand that the Hong Kong government now is not responsive to Hong Kongers. Carrie Lam and her government just responsible to the CCP and the Beijing authority.
The new ambassador from Beijing to Canada just recently threatened the Canadian government that if they follow suit with the Americans with a similar bill that their Congress just passed, there will be severe repercussions. What do you think about that?
That is the evil side of CCP. You can see that Beijing government try to use their influence power all around the world and they try to be gained from this influence. No matter try to cover all those negative message or evidence in the foreign countries, or try to threaten the government or those politicians to just keep silence for the Chinese government's something bad behavior. So this is not a core values for our world. As a global citizens, we truly believe that democracy and freedom of expression is a very core values for human beings, and we cannot fear for this kinds of threaten, and we must stay firm to support democracy and freedom. And I do hope that no matter it's from Canada and the free worlds around the whole world can continue to support our democratic movement in Hong Kong and stand with Hong Kong.
Now, I want to compare that interview to a pro-Beijing candidate, his opponent, Andrew's opponent. Here's what he had to say, his responses to very similar questions. Should Donald Trump sign the bill on his desk?
No. This is a district election, so no big international issues. My main focus today is this district, Taikoo West constituency, and all along during the last few years, we only focus on community level matters. For example, the traffic, for example, the hygiene matters, and anything else. We are not going to say anything about it.
Do you support the 5 demands?
Anything too big, any big issues is not proper in this small community. All right. So all along we emphasize peace, quietness, and better environment for the residents in this constituency. So anything extra than that, I'm not going to comment on it. All right. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Now you can tell the stark differences between those two interviewees. One was happy to conduct the interview and one was very tight-lipped. He was on a very tight leash from Beijing, it seemed. We also caught up with a third pro-democracy candidate.
Now you can see that this is like a de facto referendum. This is a very uncommon situation in Hong Kong because ordinarily, normally for district council election, we have less turnout rate than the legislative election, but the legislature election. But now you can see that probably the turnout rate is the highest so far, and would be record high. So it's like a de facto referendum, and it's allowed people to express their opinion directly, and I think this is I think this is the most important election, and I hope that people will turn out and cast their vote and show their determination and support. Hong Kong is like a showroom or show flat, and showing to the world that whether the Chinese government in fact will honor their promises, and whether one country, two systems can work, and whether the Chinese government respect rule of law and freedoms and human rights. And obviously you can see that just 20 years after the handover, we can see that the erosion of one country, two systems. So it is, and so this is, if we have this Human Rights Act, this would at least help Hong Kong people to have some kind of confidence in maintaining our present system, and at least those who want to destroy or want to affect adversely of our human rights and the present system would have some kind of consequences in the future. So this is, I think, is at least to make sure that Hong Kong people still have confidence, and it's like a motivation for us to embrace our values.
And I have one last question. Do you support the 5 demands, all 5 demands of?
Absolutely. I no one less. Yeah, not one less. Okay, so I support all these 5 demands and not one less.
Excuse me. Hi. Can I ask you what the priority is for the police today?
To make sure the environment for all voters is as safe as possible so people can vote without any fear of intimidation from any side.
Are you expecting any irregularities from any interference?
Hopefully not. We don't have any information that there's going to be any problems, and hopefully there won't be any problems.
Do you expect riots tonight?
Well, I can't say. Hopefully not, but there's always the possibility.
Rebel News is in Hong Kong right now during the local district elections. We're going to do our very best to get the coverage that Beijing doesn't want the world to see. If you support the coverage, if you support the work that we're doing, please go to HongKongReports.com and pitch in a few bucks to help cover myself and my cameraman, our hotel rooms, our flights from Canada to here and home, hopefully, unless we're thrown in a Chinese gulag.